A gradient mesh allows you to add custom gradient spots to the objects that you've created. To create a gradient mesh, there's two different methods. First of all, create an object that you have, then go to Object and choose Create Gradient Mesh. This will bring up the Gradient Mesh dialog box, and notice that your object will now look like this. First of all, the mesh will try to follow the contours from left to right and top to bottom of whatever object that you created. In the options box, you can add rows or take them away, or columns to what you have. Additionally, if you wanted to go ahead and pre-assign a color, you can make it flat, you can let it go from the center point outward, excuse me, or the edge inward. Usually I keep mine flat. Right now, I'm going to make this pretty small. The more rows and columns you have, the more detail, but the more troublesome they tend to be, and the fewer rows and columns, the less detail, but the easier they are to change around. When I say OK, I've got my object that I've got created. Another way to add a mesh to this is by using the Gradient Mesh tool. That tool can be found right next to the Gradient tool in your toolbox. Looks like this. And with this one, I can click on any object and it will add a cross point to wherever I click. So if I click there, it'll automatically add a row and a column to the area that I've clicked on. Or if I click on a line, it'll add just a column to that particular area as well. So using both the tool to give you the custom areas exactly where you need to add it, and by adding a general gradient mesh point, both of those methods work really well. The second thing you can do is to add the specific colors that you want. To do this, we're going to use our direct selection tool, the white arrow, and I'm going to click on the color that I want to change. By doing this, I'm going to click on either an anchor point, so let's say I selected that one anchor point, and I can pick my color picker and change the color to red. It's then going to change the color of that one specific point and gradient into all the other quadrants from there. If I deselected it, that's what this looks like. If I choose an entire quadrant by clicking on the center point of it, and I'll zoom in so we can see this a little bit better. So I've clicked on this point, then if I change the color, we'll do this one to green, you can see that entire quadrant changes color and it gradiates from there out as well. Gradient meshes do take a little bit of practice, but in general, they're kind of fun to use. The final way of doing it is by choosing a color swatch, clicking on it and dragging it and dropping it into the area that you want. So I'm going to select an area, select the whole thing, choose yellow, drag it, drop it in there, and now that yellow portion is selected. Or I can choose the magenta and drag it and drop it right on top of an anchor point, and only that anchor point would be selected as well.